today's.
To Pakistani Law Minister Azam Nazir Tarar's allegations of human rights violations in Jammu and Kashmir. So India launched a scathing critique of Pakistan at this meeting, describing Pakistan as a failed state that relies on international aid in order to survive. Kshitij Tyagi, whose India's permanent mission to the UN in Geneva, has accused the Pakistani leadership of perpetuating falsehoods dictated by its military. Mr. Tyagi's comments also came in response to Pakistani Law Minister Mr. Tarar's allegations of human rights violations in Kashmir, and now a strong, scathing critique of Pakistan from India. In fact, India has also said Pakistan is making a mockery of the OIC. The other crucial story we're tracking, the President of the European Commission's India trip begins with her College of Commissioners. And this is, in fact, the first time that the College of Commissioners visit India together. So what exactly is the plan of action? Well, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, as per our sources, will seek assistance from Prime Minister Modi to enforce sanctions on Russia when the two leaders meet. Do note that India has not condemned Russia for invading Ukraine, but has advocated dialogue and diplomacy to end the war. And as you are aware, Russia is one of India's biggest sources of crude oil as well as weapons. But during this visit, the European Union plans to urge India to lower the high tariffs on cars and wine to boost trade as it seeks to reduce its reliance on China. This is what sources have informed NDTV ahead of this visit by the European Commission President to New Delhi. My colleague Mohammed Ghazali has been tracking all the latest developments for us. He joins us over the phone line at the moment. Ghazali, any major announcements expected during this visit?
See, this visit itself is a major visit because for the first time, these 27 commissioners of the European Union will be visiting outside Europe, or what we call them as the College of Commissioners. And the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen will also be here. So what we're expecting in this particular visit is that what the European Commission is actually looking for the support of a country like India, because we know how the relations between European Union and US has come under its strain after what is happening, the way US has treated this entire conflict of Ukraine and Russia, and have switched sides in some sense by passing or voting against the resolution which is particularly against Ukraine. So in this particular visit, it is more of an optics that EU is looking for more alliances outside the European Union, and that is why they are visiting, and there will be talks. And what you're being told is that US-Russia talks, AI, environment, and energy sector are some of the key sectors which will be likely to be discussed in the meeting. But most importantly, this is something which we are expecting that in this particular meeting, the EU Commission will look for support from India on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is right now the main subject of the entire region.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with that update. Well, Donald Trump's negotiations to end the war in Ukraine without directly involving Europe and the threat of tariffs as the EU tries to decouple from China have also added to the urgency for deeper cooperation with India. But meanwhile, let's turn our attention to what the US president is up to. Donald Trump has said that American companies will now be able to hire Indian graduates from US universities under the new Gold Card citizenship initiative. The announcement, which comes as a major boost for Indian students, follows his unveiling of the Gold Card on Wednesday. But defending his Gold Card proposal against allegations of serving just wealthy immigrants, Donald Trump said American businesses could purchase his proposed offer to help keep bright students from countries like India who went to schools in the United States for higher studies. Trump has unveiled this Gold Card visa for $5 million that will offer wealthy buyers permanent residency in the US and also a path to citizenship. But many have questioned whether this $5 million Gold Card visa, whether it's a debt fix or just immigration for the wealthy. And at the first cabinet meeting, Trump told reporters that this visa would function similarly to green cards, which allow immigrants of varying incomes to live and work permanently in the US, but would go to high-level people.
I get calls from, as an example, companies where they want to hire the #1 student at a school. A person comes from India, China, Japan, lots of different places, and they go to Harvard, the Wharton School of Finance, they go to Yale, they go to all great schools, and they graduate #1 in their class, and they're made job offers, but the offer is immediately rescinded because you have no idea whether or not that person can stay in the country. I want to be able to have that person stay in the country. These companies can go and buy a gold card, and they can use it as a matter of recruitment.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has said that Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky will visit the White House tomorrow, which is Friday, to sign a long-sought minerals deal that will closely tie the two countries together for years to come. Trump made the announcement at the start of the first cabinet meeting of his second term, hailing the deal as a very big agreement. But Zelensky said in a news conference in Kyiv that a framework of an economic deal had been reached, but that it did not yet include US security guarantees, which his country sees as vital. The full agreement could hinge on the upcoming talks in Washington on Friday. Just listen in to what Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky had to say.
President Zelensky is going to be coming on Friday. That's now confirmed, and we're going to be signing an agreement, which will be a very big agreement. And I want to thank Howard and Scott for the job you guys did in putting it together. You really did an amazing job. And that'll be on rare earth and other things.
Ще один пункт, на який би я звернув увагу, безумовно, це про економіку договір, але я дуже просив, щоб з'явилось хоча б розуміння, що ми однаково бачимо, що все це є частиною майбутніх гарантій безпеки. І тому навіть в рамковій угоді я дуже хотів, щоб з'явилось хоча б речення гарантій безпеки України.
For further clarity, we have with us live from Washington, D.C., Jessica Stone at the moment. Jessica, President Trump has confirmed that Zelensky is expected at the White House to sign the big deal on Friday. What's in it?
Well, what looks to be in it is a 50-50 split between the profits between the United States and Kyiv. The U.S. would commit to, quote, a development of a stable and economically prosperous Ukraine. But as you point out, there is no hard security guarantee. What there is a commitment to invest in the economy that could also come with some hard security guarantees. So what we think is going to happen here is that during the negotiations, there will be a conversation about what type of security guarantee the U.S. is willing to convey. And of course, those negotiations are face-to-face negotiations here at the White House. Officials say that those negotiations are ongoing even now. And there's one other thing I want to point out that's still unaddressed, which is many of Ukraine's rare earth deposits are actually in Russia-occupied territory. So that's going to also have to factor in here.
But Jessica, why now? What can you tell us about the timing of this deal?
Well, it's clear that the U.S. president wants some sort of repayment, if you will, of the investment that the U.S. has made both in the weapons and in aid to Ukraine. But more broadly, there is obviously a global race for control of the rare earth mineral supply of critical minerals more broadly. And China is the #1 producer and even the #1 refiner of those minerals. The U.S. has something like, I believe, just a fraction of tons, 1.8 million tons of reserves compared to China's 44 million tons of reserves. Right. And China has been announcing curbs on its rare earth mineral exports to the rest of the world, which could impact their ability, including the United States' ability to make semiconductors, batteries for electric vehicles, and the like.
Well, Jessica, thanks so much for joining us with the lowdown. We will, of course, revert you for regular updates when both of them.
Good to be with you.
Meanwhile, the US president has raised hopes for another month-long pause on steep new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada, saying they could take effect on the 2nd of April, and floated a 25% reciprocal tariff on European cars and other goods as well. But you must note, a White House official, however, has said Trump's previous March 4th deadline for the 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods remained in effect as of this moment, pending his review of Mexican and Canadian actions to secure their border and halt the flow of migrants, as well as the opioid fentanyl into the United States. David K. Johnston joins us live from Rochester with further clarity on the matter. David, 1 minute we hear massive tariffs on Canada and Mexico. The next, those plans are delayed or modified. Is this inconsistency part of a larger strategy, or would you argue that it's simply a reflection of poorly thought out decision making?
Well, it is certainly poorly thought out decision making because it would entirely disrupt U.S., Canada, Mexico trade. But on the other hand, this is typical Donald. He tries to create chaos. He finds ways to destabilize other people in chaos. And interestingly, in this case, he said, who signed this agreement? This is a terrible agreement with Canada and Mexico. Donald Trump rewrote the trade agreement when he was president in his first term. It's his own agreement he's attacking.
Right. Also, David, many are highlighting that companies may or are already starting to shift production to the United States as a reaction to these tariff threats. Is this exactly what Trump wants, though? And does this strategy have long-term implications for global trade dynamics?
Well, Donald very much is a mercantilist. He believes that every dollar that the U.S. doesn't get is a dollar that someone else has. He doesn't understand wealth creation. And given the volume of goods that move back and forth across the borders, particularly in automobile production, where auto parts are made in the U.S., then they're sent to Mexico or Canada, where they're worked on further and then sent back, this would be a tremendous disruptor. That's one of the reasons I suspect he keeps putting off by another 4 weeks the date when these tariffs would be imposed.
Well, let's see how this plays out. But as always, David Johnston, thank you so much for making time for us and joining us on NDTV. The Trump administration, by the way, has said it's eliminating more than 90% of the U.S. Agency for International Development's foreign aid contracts and $60 billion in overall U.S. assistance around the world. The cuts detailed by the administration would leave few surviving U.S. aid projects for advocates who try to save in what are ongoing court battles with the administration. And by the way, now it's UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's turn. After President Emmanuel Macron of France navigated his meeting with Donald Trump on Monday, skirting the rockiest shoals but making little headway, Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, will meet Donald Trump today to plead for the United States not to abandon Ukraine. Mr. Starmer will face the same balancing act, though, as Mr. Macron did, without the benefit of years of interactions dating to 2017, when Donald Trump greeted the newly elected French president with a white-knuckle handshake that was the first of several memorable grip and grin moments. But unlike Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer will arrive in the Oval Office armed with a pledge to increase his country's military spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027 and to 3% within a decade. That actually addresses one of Donald Trump's core grievances, which is his contention that Europeans are free riders sheltering under an American security umbrella. News and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break. Do stay tuned.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Very warm welcome to you all for this NDTV Profit Conclave, which is themed on Viksit Bharat.
American president talks about making America great again, and when Prime Minister Modi talks about Viksit Bharat, in a way is talking about making India great again.
India needs to diversify its sources of capital.
Deployment of the grassroots level will be done by manufacturing.
You can't truly become a developed nation unless we take every segment of the society in our economic development journey. This is also another element of blueprint for Viksit Bharat.
The NDTV Profit Conclave 2025, the blueprint for Viksit Bharat, only on the NDTV network. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Well, Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages in the exchange for release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners by Israel. But the overnight exchange marks the final swap in the first phase of a fragile truce in Gaza, which came into effect in January on the 19th, to be precise. The ceasefire is set to expire this weekend with no clarity on whether talks will continue. But the next steps in negotiations remain uncertain as the region awaits further developments. We'll, of course, bring you the latest. We are tracking all the latest updates. Well, let's switch tracks now. Nvidia has reported a 78% surge in fourth quarter sales, fueled by rising demand for artificial intelligence. The company's annual revenue climbed 114% to $130.5 billion. And for the upcoming quarter, Nvidia expects revenue of around $43 billion, surpassing Wall Street estimates. Net income rose sharply to $22 billion, while gross margins dipped slightly to 73% due to newer, costlier data center products. But the focus now shifts to Nvidia's next generation AI chip, Blackwell, which is expected to significantly boost sales this year. That's what the company expects. For further clarity, we have with us, joining us on NDTV at the moment, global economist Mithali Nikor. Thank you so much, Mithali, for making time for us. Nvidia's earnings have surged, as I just mentioned, driven by its Blackwell chips and the growing demand for AI. But Mithali, does this signal the beginning of a new economic era where tech companies like Nvidia are not just leading the market, but also reshaping the market?
Absolutely. Good morning, Parmeshwar. And, it's a very interesting, set of news that we're seeing this morning, particularly with NVIDIA's earnings report and, the industry guidance that they've issued. Because if you just look back by maybe 20 years, all of us in the year 2000 were looking at the earnings reports of a number of IT companies, and we used to keenly look forward to the results of even the Indian IT companies as well as some of the global IT companies like Microsoft at that time. And we used to think that, they are going to be actually shaping the next 2 decades or 3 decades of the information technology industry. And today, 20 years later, we're now talking about a completely new innovation in the tech industry, which is artificial intelligence. And because NVIDIA chips, and of course, not only Blackwell, but over the last, 10 years that NVIDIA has built this market leading position, we see how they are, now today the undisputed market leader for American AI companies. It is now, point to be seen whether Chinese AI companies, which are racing ahead in this, sort of growth market and this growing market and in this competition towards, creating the most preferred large language models, how will they actually adapt and how will they create alternatives to NVIDIA? It's a market that they've dominated as a monopolist over the last decade in a way, but now it remains to be seen whether new competitors come out.
Right. Also, NVIDIA's dominance in the AI chip market, many point out, it seems unchallenged, but it remains to be seen how vulnerable this sector is to global trade tensions, especially with the White House actually forming this new AI-related joint venture. Remains to be seen whether geopolitical risks slow down this tech momentum. But thanks so much, Mithali, for making time for us on NDTV.
Thank you.
Well, let's switch tracks now. And what is a big upset? Afghanistan have knocked out England out of the ICC Champions Trophy. Afghanistan beat England in a thriller by 8 runs and scored 325 for 7 in 50 overs batting first. England, by the way, got all out for 317 in 49.5 overs.
In what has been a big upset at the ICC Champions Trophy, Afghanistan have beaten England by 8 runs and they have knocked England out of the ICC Champions Trophy. This is not the first time that Afghanistan have caused an upset. They remember beat England in the ODI World Cup as well, and they have managed to repeat that feat this time around in the Champions Trophy again. Ibrahim Zadran, the star of the match, he scored 177. This is the highest individual score in an ICC Champions Trophy tournament. Apart from Ibrahim Zadran, there was also Azmat, who took a 5-wicket haul. Remember, Afghanistan, all the players, all the bowlers Afghanistan fielded today, everyone contributed, and this was a collective effort. It was a team effort that made sure that that Afghanistan beat England in this very crucial match. Remember, this was a virtual knockout. Whoever lost this match would be out of the tournament, and this is what has happened. Afghanistan doing the unthinkable, doing what no one thought would happen. They have beaten England by 8 runs and they have knocked England out of the Champions Trophy. Their next match is going to be against Australia. Remember, Australia in an ICC tournament, they are a completely different beast altogether. But this team, this Afghanistan team, it looks like that they have a plan. They are playing like a team, they're sticking together, and the spirit that this particular team has, this is something to look out for. That match is going to be crucial. Afghanistan versus Australia, the next match is going to be very crucial. If Afghanistan beats Australia in that match, Afghanistan will qualify for the semi-final, and that is going to be a huge thing for this particular team and the entire nation of Afghanistan as well.
Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.